Moramai, a very good morning to you on this special day, our national day, in fact, Tynwald Day 2018. I'm James Davis.
And I'm Kerry Kermode.
And we're here just in front of the Royal Chapel, standing in front of the iconic Tynwald Hill. And that is, of course, going to be the scene of a lot of the official proceedings for today. Of course, it's not just the official, the pomp and pageantry today as well. A day when politicians put political issues and perhaps personal issues and differences to one side and focus on celebrating our national day. So much going on, I think it's fair to say. Certainly nothing to worry about weather-wise, and I can see that the members of our Parliament in the robing room getting ready as we speak. We've got the Ball and Bane here. Tell me, Kiri, what is the story behind this Ball and Bane? I hear every year you've got to wear Ball and Bane. I'm still not quite sure why.
That's right. Ball and Bane is worn to ward off any evil spirits. It's to protect us. And a shepherd one time went up into the hills, and it's believed that the fairies were coming after him, and he found some Ball and Bane and it kept them away from him. But who knows, it's Manx and mystical.
So protects you from fairies. Well, that's something you learn every day. Lots going on down here. Of course, you can watch on the live streams wherever you are around the world. There's lots of Manxies, thanks to diaspora, expats, etc. But not only that, of course, if you're on the island, come on down. There's plenty going on right through until about 10:30, quarter to 11 tonight. There's tents, there's the Viking village, there's lots going on in the Arboretum. We'll give you a lowdown on what's happening a little later. Well, here we are, Tynwald Day 2018, and you can probably see just behind me here she's being laid on the processional path. Of course, the official proceedings will be starting at 10:30. I'm joined by the Onken MHK, Rob Callister. First of all, Mr. Callister, let's get dressed properly, shall we? Top hat and tails, absolutely. Tynwald Day, your second Tynwald Day as a member of the House of Keys. Must be a very proud moment.
Absolutely. Very, very proud. Very privileged to be representing the people of the island, especially Onken, and those who can't attend today. So yeah, very, very proud.
What does it mean to you as a Manxman to be involved in the day, representing the constituents of Onken and the island? Because obviously you've been here in the guise as an Onken Commissioner before, you've been here before as a member of the public, but this time as a member of the island's Parliament.
It's a great privilege for myself personally, but as I say, to represent the people of Onken in this island, it never gets any better and it never gets any worse. It's a fantastic privilege, and I enjoy every moment of it. I enjoyed it in 2013 when I was chairman of Onken Commissioners, but it feels even more special being a member of the House of Keys. We've had a very busy year. We're going to promulgate 14 laws today, so it's been a very busy year, and we've got a lot of work to do over the next 2 or 3 years. So very, very proud.
Did you have any preconceived ideas, expectations about what the role of an MHK would be?
No, I actually went in with a blank sheet and just see how it went over the next 5 years. And as I say, it's been a fantastic experience over the last 2 years. I've learned an incredible amount of stuff, and I'm continually learning as I progress in this particular fantastic role. So I've got 3 years left, and I'm looking forward to see how they unfold.
We're standing here, looking around us. It's a hive of activity. What would you say to any islander considering coming down here who haven't perhaps made their mind up yet?
If you're actually proud about the island you live on, and you want to represent the island, then come forward and stand for local election or for national election at some point in the future, because it's only when you stand you actually get to understand what a privilege this role really is, to represent the island and to put the best interest of the island forward going forward in the 5-year period.
Have a super day, you and your wife Ellen, and enjoy the occasion.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much. Kiri, of course, Mr. Callister's just touched upon some of it there. There is so much going on today. I know there's just been a stone-laying ceremony at Coolaree, which officially kick-started that side of proceedings. But I mean, you've got the list there. What else can islanders expect today?
Oh, there's so much going on here at Tynwald Day. There's silver bands on the front green, the Manx dancing. There's so much in the fair, the stalls, the charity stalls, Manx produce, that is my absolute favourite. But also the Manx tent, it has so much going on, the family tree, photography, and also the bun school across the road, all the different things for families to come down and do. And it just smells amazing here now, doesn't it? All the Manx produce getting cooked up, ready for the day.
You're making me hungry. Now tell me, you're a Manx girl, born and bred. You'll have been to Tynwald Day on numerous occasions, I would imagine, since you were tot. What does today? What memories does today evoke?
It's a really special day for anybody that's Manx. It's a bank holiday, but it's our national day, and it's important that we take a moment to recognise it. We come here as a family since we were really, really small, whether it's rain or shine, and it's something very special about it. The open air ceremony, it's something we get to witness and something to be very proud of. A lot of heritage and history, and it needs to be looked after.
It certainly does. As I said earlier, it's a day really where when politicians put aside political, personal differences and issues and really enjoy the pomp and pageantry of the day. I can see one man to my right who will certainly enjoy the pomp and pageantry with proud parents as well. If you come along this way, Mr. Ashford, David Ashford, North Douglas MHK, first Tynwald Day as a minister.
It is indeed, James. Quite a unique experience, very different obviously to last year, different role for me this time. But I think it's an absolutely excellent day. It's a chance for us to celebrate our democracy here in the Isle of Man, and glorious weather as well. What more could we ask for?
Why should we celebrate it today? Why is it important for the National Day to be marked in this way, with a little bit of the procedural and a little bit of the fun of the fair?
Because I think we have a very unique democracy here in the Isle of Man. We have a democracy that is very old, the oldest continuous parliament in the world. And I think also that we're closer to the people than a lot of other democracies. Not many people could actually ring up a minister, get to see them maybe next day or same week, or even get a response. Whereas here in the Isle of Man, we're a lot more responsive to people's needs, and we understand a lot more of what's going on the ground. And I think that's very important in terms of future democracy.
And what you're about, it's just 6 months in now as health, just over 6 months as Health and Social Care Minister. How have you found it?
Just come up to 7 actually,
Nearly 7,
believe it or not. It's
time flies when you're having fun.
That's what they say. I'm finding it very good. As I said when I took over as Minister, I think there's absolutely huge opportunities to do something unique here in the island in relation to health and social care. And I think we've got a real opportunity in front of us, and I want to grab it with both hands and design a Manx system that's fit for the island.
Goramayu, have a super day.
Thank you, James. Enjoy.
Thank you very much indeed. The Minister for Health and Social Care, David Ashford. Kiri, I've got to say, just looking around, you can see it is very much a day when it's fashion and finery to the fore, isn't it? You look pretty ravishing yourself, if you don't mind me saying.
Why, thank you, James. But it is a very special day, and the ladies do get dressed up for it. And the gents look very good as well. But no, it is a very proud day, so everyone gets their best outfits out. And when they're walking along from the chapel over to the hill, it's amazing how the audience will admire how people look and how they are dressed.
It is a very special day for a Manx person, but I heard from the president of Tynwald, Steve Roden, and he was saying, actually, you don't have to be Manx to enjoy this day. If you are committed to our gem of a God's earth, the Isle of Man, then that almost qualifies, really, because it's a day to celebrate all good things about where we live, what we do, what we have. And I'm sure there'll be lots of people watching worldwide today, as I say, the Manx diaspora, expats watching in on the big screen. If you're here, of course, watching in on the internet, and of course listening on the radio. There's so much going on here today. I've got to you talking about your memories of the Manx Day. I love the music, the traditional music. I was in the neighbourhood last night of Government House, and I could hear from a distance the Beat the Retreat, and I think that's always something special, and it always stands out. David Cretney has just walked past. He is the most senior member, of course, of our Tynwald. I think he was first elected in the mid-1980s, about 1985. And he's smiling and he's giving me the thumbs up there, so that was a good guess. So obviously he's been in place for over 30 years now, and has seen all this before. I wonder how it's changed for him. But lots going on. If you are thinking of coming down here, do pop down, pop along. As I say, the entertainment's going on till late tonight. We've got Viking Villages, Cayleys, Retrospect Band are playing. We've got the brass bands with Manx Dancing, a dance academy, and that's just to name but few.
It goes on, doesn't it? But the really nice piece at the very end of the night is the lone bagpiper on top of the hill. That is a very, very special moment to end such a brilliant day here on the Isle of Man.
The band of Her Majesty's Royal Marine Portsmouth, incidentally, is today's official band, and we will hear from them shortly, of course. An Onken Silver Band locally will be leading the parade of the various schools, cadets, scout groups, and that normally happens about 10:20 and we'll be handing you over to Bill Dale for that. Of course, a very special day for Bill Dale, our commentator for the official proceedings, along with Charles Gard, and I would imagine Bill will be inside quite emotional today because, of course, he's going to be the recipient of the Tynwald Honour.
It's a very, very big honour and very well deserved by Bill and his team at the Beach Buddies. They're doing a fantastic job, especially in the forefront of the world now, the plastics and the issues around the environment. He has really stepped up and took bull by the horns and doing a fabulous job.
Bull by the horns, there's a good farmer's girl quote. I was just looking at the plaque before, actually. Norman Sale, the late Norman Sale, the artist. Nadine Crowther for her work with hospice. Jeff Caron. So many well-known names in the island community who've contributed in their own way to aspects of island life. They have been included. This isn't an award that is given every year. It's very much special in recognition of service to the Manx community, and I think Bill Dale has certainly done that. In fact, it's been a year and a half for him because, of course, he was named in the honours list as well. So a very special day for him. We'll hear from Bill a little bit in a short while time, but just starting to fill up. And if you look behind me now, actually, you can probably just see the Manx dancing on the Fairfield. We've got the World Manx tent beyond that. The Family History Society have been involved since about 8 o'clock. I don't think people appreciate how much goes into this in the not just the weeks but the months ahead to make today what it is. And the good thing is, if you were here in 2015 now, I think it was, you're probably just have about dried out because that was awful. But on the whole, I think Noel Kringle started it off. Then Claire Christian had a pretty magic touch as well. And then this year and last year, Steve Roden, of course, they bring the weather with them, and that counts. It's a nice breeze, not too hot, but certainly we don't need to worry about the weather, do we?
We really don't. We've had a fabulous summer this year. We could actually do with a little bit of rain, possibly. But today, as long as it holds out, it's a great day of celebrations. We can enjoy being out in the sunshine, eating ice cream and just having a day off with all of our friends and family. But the fair day and the Fairfield was very important one time because livestock farmers used to come and trade their cattle and sheep on this day. So it goes back a long way in agriculture, and that's what I really appreciate.
Just very quickly, Tynwald Day, if you are watching and want to share one of your memories with us or your special time, what it meant for you, whether you're an expat, a former island resident, or I've got David Cretney here, we're going to speak to him in a minute. If you've got a message days gone by, or a message you want to relay to someone, please do not forget, watching family and friends here on the big screen, if you want to pass on best wishes to them, don't forget to let us know. The email address I'm just looking at here, inquiries@tynwald.org.im. Just to repeat that one, inquiries@tynwald.org.im. So let us know your views, and we'll try and get a few of those messages read out a little bit later on. David Cretney was first elected to South Douglas, I think it was 1985. He's nodding here, which is a good sign. He was returned successfully on every occasion, and then in 2015 was elected to the Legislative Council of the Upper House. So by my recollections, that's about 33, 34 Tynwalds now, 33.
This is the 33rd.
How does that make you feel? Does today still fill you with the same sense of pride that the very first one did?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I come from a very humble, ordinary background, so to take part in a ceremony which has been going on for well over 1,000 years now is a real honour.
Has the format, I think the format of the processional, the official proceedings has remained largely unchanged, but how is the rest of the day? Has it altered much during that time?
Well, it used to be that I would be down here on the Fairfield rather than walking to the hill. Obviously, I used to have a shop, and so that's where we started off. And in fact, I was here even earlier. We used to come as a scout, and we would parade and be on the guard of honour for people going up the hill. So I've been here 33 times as a Tynwald member, but more times separately.
What does it mean for your family today?
Well, my family is over there on the Fairfield. I've just been to see them. The Manx Labour Party has a stand. We're celebrating the 70th birthday today of the National Health Service, which obviously the Labour Party in the UK was instrumental in establishing. We've got a stall over there, welcome people to come and help celebrate with us, and also obviously it's the 100th birthday of the Manx Labour Party this year, so we're celebrating that as well.
A number of milestones. Just turn to the camera, let them see you.
Oh yeah, right.
Born in the NHS, 70th anniversary, so lots going on. Have a very special day.
Thank you very much.
Good
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, thank you, David Cretney, MLC, member of the Legislative Council, and before that, of course, the South Douglas MHK for 30 years. So starting to fill up fast. There's a lovely buzz in the air, isn't there?
There really is. It's a great atmosphere, and there's lots of people coming around now, and children are starting to get up and dance, and it's just a brilliant day, isn't it, James? What's your memories from years gone by? Have you always came to the fair?
My memories, well, my granddad used to be a member of the House of Keys in Ramsey, so but that was when I was sort of very small. But I actually didn't probably come along till I was a teenager, so obviously that was about 3 years ago. And no, a bit slow there. So used to come and watch, and then in more recent years with Manx Radio. So no, it's a very special occasion. I think it means something different to everybody, but it's a special occasion to celebrate being Manx and part of the Manx community. So it's a very special indeed.
But it's not just the Fairfield, there's lots going around the island as well. There's so much to do. They're opening gardens at Bishop's Court. The Arboretum here is open with the Global Food Village. There's just so much to do. You don't have to be in the busy part of the Tynwald Fairfield. You can, celebrate in your own way, at home or anywhere around the world.
And if you want to get away from it completely, let me endorse the credentials of the famous, I'm told it's famous, Crunkavody Sports Day. That has become an annual Tynwald Day tradition for many years. That's all getting going at lunchtime just a bit further west in Crunkavody. So, and even the dog racing's back. So if you fancy something a little bit different, may I endorse the credentials of the Crunkavody Sports Day. But plenty going on here, and the official proceedings probably around 15 minutes away now. Well, the entertainment has started. We've got the traditional Manx dancers behind us here. As is traditional, there is a soloist during the service. It is the Cleveland Medal winner, Paul Costain. He has won the Cleveland Medal actually for the last three occasions actually at the Manx Music Festival. Paul Costain from Colby, and at the request of the president of Tynwald, Steve Roden, he will be singing The Old Rugged Cross, words and music by George Bernard, and he'll be accompanied by Derek Crellin today. Of course, one man is leading the troops particularly this morning, and that is the Chief Minister.
Chief Minister. Howard? How has your Tynwald morning been so far?
Nice and cool. I mean, I like the sunshine, but these clouds are absolutely gorgeous. When you're follically challenged, you have to think of these things. So sunshine not beaming direct down is a bonus for me personally.
It really is. But what a lovely day. The rushes on the path from the chapel to the hill have a significant fact in the whole of the Manx Tynwald Day. And I believe as we speak, I'm going to have to take this off. Oh, my word, the wind. Manannan's cloak is actually coming over the hill just behind us here. Now, it's believed that these rushes are significant to him.
It is indeed, and I think it's fantastic that we follow the tradition. I know the ladies have to be careful when they're walking along if they have a certain type of shoe. I've seen the rushes get in the shoes, but it's a nice tradition to follow.
It really, it's a lovely, lovely place here today. The children are out in force. The Manx dancers are here. How does it feel emotionally for you?
Well, this is my second as Chief Minister, but it's a special day. I mean, we're commemorating 100 years since the ending of World War I, and obviously World War II was fought to give us freedom. People died, millions of people died to give us the right to do what we're doing today, and we should never forget that. So it's our national day. We're promulgating our laws. There's 14 acts to promulgate, and obviously there'll be petitions from members of the public. So A, it's really important, but B, we should celebrate our unique Manxness, and I consider your Manx, if you embrace the Isle of Man, if you accept the Isle of Man as your home and you try not to change it, but add to it, then you're as Manx as anyone who's lived here for hundreds of years.
And will you get a chance to have a look around the Fairfield later on?
I try to have a quick wander, cup of tea over in the chapel hall, which is always very welcome, and the volunteers do a fantastic job there. Yes, and then a quick wander around the hall, and I'll be back tonight. Obviously, there's over in the far end, there's a marquee there, and there'll be dancing and Manx food on display, and then it'll be finishing off with pipers playing Ellen Vannon on the hill. And what a fantastic event.
It really is a very special day for everybody here on the Isle of Man, something to be very proud of.
It is indeed. Thank you. I'll see you later. My family's over there.
Have a super day, Chief Minister. Chief Minister, of course, was speaking earlier in the week about the guests and the fact that at a time like now in our current culture, we need all the allies and the contacts we get, and I think that's reflected in the guest list today. We have guests from the British Irish Parliamentary Assembly. We've got a political officer from the US Embassy. We have a naval regional commander. We've got the Ministry of Justice spokesperson for the House of Lords, and many of these contacts, of course, have been forged through the likes of the British Irish Council, the Parliamentary Assembly, gatherings which have become increasingly important for the island, and those links really can't be underestimated in an hour of need. So a rich assortment of guests here today. I can tell you that there's also two of the captains of the parish are presented to His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor. This is a new initiative which was introduced within the last decade or so in this capacity. A lot of the Commissioners' chairmen, of course, sit on the hill, but the two captains of the parish to be presented to His Excellency this year are Patricia Costain, who's the captain of the parish of Patrick, and John Farragher. He's the captain of the parish of Lonnan, and he's actually been in post since 1995. So a special day for both Mrs. Costain and Mr. Farragher. We are about 10 minutes away now from the official handover to Bill and Charles, because it's a very important day for Bill. As I say, he's going to receive the Tynwald honour, and also Charles, his co-commentator. And it's on occasions like this that we remember Ian Cannell as well, because Ian Cannell passed away just before Tynwald Day last year, and Ian was very much at the forefront of the Tynwald Day commentary for many years, and we remember him on days like today. I don't know about you, Kiri, but I think there's something a little bit peculiar when I was speaking to somebody earlier in the week, and they said, well, we'll see you at work on Thursday, and I said, no, you won't. No, you won't. I think that there's certain people who come from across firms, perhaps they don't really probably appreciate, and I mean this most respectfully, the true meaning of today and what it means to the island.
It really is. It's a very special day, a bank holiday for many Manx people, but it is a day that people will take off. We find in agriculture in particular, lots of farming people will come here today, and they might not have caught up with some of these farmers since last year. So it is a very important day that you have it off and go and enjoy it. And everything, the festivities that people put on around the Isle of Man are second to none, and they really need to be enjoyed.
I didn't think farmers ever had a day off.
Well, this morning was quite hectic, but we're still here.
Still here, we are indeed. Steve Roden, the president of Tynwald, this is his second Tynwald as president from when he took over from Claire Christian, and he was saying to me that Tynwald members really are like birds of passage. They come and they go, but the traditions stay the same. And that is very much the case. There's a number of new faces. The island's Lord Bishop, for example, it is his first Tynwald Day officially today. And of course, we have 4 new members of the Legislative Council in Tanya August Hanson, Kate Lord Brennan, Marlene Hendy, and I was going to say Kate Lord Brennan, because Jane Poole Wilson, of course, was here last year. But it's a special day for all of them, because this is their first official Tynwald Day since they were elected in March. We've got, it isn't an issue whether we have men or women in Parliament, because equal footing. But tell me, it means a lot to a lot of people that there's perhaps a bit more of a balance now. Is that something that's ever bothered you?
No, absolutely not. If you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter what you are, male, female, indifferent, whatever it is. As long as you give 110% of whatever you do, you can achieve, and people will respect that, surely.
I'm sure they will. We've been speaking to the Lieutenant Governor, we've been speaking to the Chief Minister, and also Roger Phillips. I saw him a few moments ago. Of course, he's the Clerk of Tynwald, and as I said earlier, a lot of the backup that goes into today starts many months in advance. There was the Beat the Retreat last night. The guests, many of them arrived on Tuesday actually. They had an official tour of Tynwald yesterday, and of course closer to home there was the Tynwald Garden Party for many dignitaries and invited guests as well on Sunday. So it really is, today is the pinnacle, but it's a whole Manx National Week, and I think that's reflected in events all around the island.
That's right, especially with the Flower Festival as well. At the moment you can go and visit all the chapels and churches around. The people of their villages have done a fabulous job displaying such gorgeous flowers, and especially with such heat as well, to keep them right for everyone to view for a week. It's been a bit of a mean undertaking, I imagine, but to see the children practicing their steps and their musical instruments here on the green throughout the week running up to today, it's just something really special.
Dare I say, bloomin' marvellous.
Bloomin'
Marvellous. The wind's picked up a little bit.
It really has.
Some women are having problems with their hair.
Very big problems with the hair. But anyway, the day must go on.
And that was the fascinator you wore for the royal wedding in May, is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But that is another story.
Good morning, and a warm welcome to the village of St John's for Tynwald Day and the Tynwald ceremony. This is a day which celebrates the longest continuously running parliament in the world, and where we are able to reflect on the unique history of the Isle of Man and the events throughout history which have influenced our island and our people. Everywhere across the Isle of Man there are place names and historic monuments which we often take for granted, but each of these places salute and the national anthem. Now, we were hoping that there might be a flight past this year, but the weather has closed in and I'm afraid it looks like the man is slow. If it does happen, it will be 2 Hawk trainers from number 4 Squadron at RAF Valley in Anglesey. Fingers crossed, this is scheduled for 10:37, but I don't think we can expect it to happen. His Excellency will now inspect the Guard of Honour and the front row of the band before he moves towards the War Memorial for the traditional Tynwald Day ceremony. Now, His Excellency now moves over towards the War Memorial. This is the Isle of Man's National War Memorial and was built and designed by PMC Kermode. It should not be forgotten that the Isle of Man played its part in no small way during to pay their respects with a minute's silence in memory of those lost in war. Manx national anthem on this very special day.
On this Tynwald Day, we meet together to give thanks to God for the many benefits we have received during the past year, to pray for our island, its government, in the coming year, and to dedicate ourselves anew to the service of God and the people of our island.
justice in the sight of the nations. Lord, have mercy.
Lord, have mercy.
Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners. Our sins are forgiven in Christ.
Amen. The collect in Manx, a translation into English, is available in the service books. Let us pray. Ye uli in Yaltu, Volsta chit the holia smoinat, the irin as the hay, Grishi, ta shin gwilt, ons cri the holia wanya gri ferinach of chi, as stuel orish the crinach glena sheo, ad sin ta goil cool, son a shunin atel, the vod the react, gol era a hadjagt, the fiach derech visash seal, len the hustia the grey, through Yeezy Christ nin yel. Amen.
Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, verses 28 to 34. One of the scribes who had listened to these discussions and had observed how well Jesus answered came forward and asked him, "Which is the first of all the commandments?" He answered, "The first is, 'Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one Lord, and you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength.' The second is this, 'You must love your neighbor as yourself.' No other commandment is greater than these." The scribe said to him, "Well said, teacher. You are right in saying that God is one, and beside him there is no other. And to love him with all your heart, all your understanding, and all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself, that means far more than any whole offerings and sacrifices." When Jesus saw how thoughtfully he answered, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And after that, nobody dared to put any more questions to him. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Let us pray. O Lord our God, guide the leaders of the nations into the ways of peace and justice.
Yes, Lord.
Guard and strengthen your servant Elizabeth, our Queen, Lord of Man, and all the members of the royal family, that they may put their trust in you and seek your honour and glory.
Yes, Lord.
Endue the High Court of Tynwald, here assembled, with wisdom and understanding, that through them we might be wisely and justly governed.
Yes, Lord.
Bless those who administer the law and all who hold public office, that they may uphold justice, honesty, and truth.
Yes, Lord.
Give us a broader vision of the needs of the whole world, a deeper compassion to fill these needs, and a desire to uphold the rights and freedoms of all your children, regardless of creed or race.
Yes, Lord.
Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we praise thy holy name for our island heritage. And we beseech thee with thy favour to behold all who dwell here. May thy blessing rest upon all the labours of our minds and hands. Keep, we pray thee, in thine almighty care all who go down to the sea in ships, and all who travel by land and air. Help us to order with grace and dignity our common life in town and sheeding, that we may live and our children grow in health and godliness. May thy grace be with all who visit our shores, that they may find recreation of body and soul, and with us may glorify thee, the giver of all good things, through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen.
With confidence we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day forever and ever and ever. Amen.
Lord, As you can see, the choir is leading the procession towards the hill and everyone else falls in behind. Finally, the last person to leave the church will be His Excellency, and then there will be a parade as he becomes the first person to walk onto the hill. Now today we have a number of special guests from all over the world. The Right Honourable Sir Lindsay Hoyle MP is a British Labour Party politician who has been the member for Chorley since 1997 and was the first Labour politician to represent Chorley in 18 years. Elected to his local council in 1980 at the age of 22, he was the youngest councillor ever to serve in Chorley and one of the youngest nationwide. He was elected Chairman of Ways and Means and Senior Deputy Speaker in 2010, and following the general elections of 2015 and 2017, he was re-elected to the post. Prior to becoming the first ever elected Chairman of Ways and Means, Lindsay Hoyle was a vocal backbencher. He maintains a keen interest in various subjects including British manufacturing, defence policy and North West regional development. Knighted in 2017, Sir Lindsay is accompanied by his wife, Lady Catherine Hoyle, and also his private secretary, Miss Clementine Brown. Commodore Philip Waterhouse joined the Royal Navy as a junior sailor in 1982. And after initial training he served on HMY Britannia. He has served around the world in a number of logistics command posts. Key shore appointments include being the personal staff officer to the Naval Secretary and as Deputy Fleet Logistics Officer on the staff of Commander-in-Chief Fleet. He graduated from the Advanced Command and Staff course in 2005 and on promotion to Commander took command of the Defence Maritime Logistics School. Promoted to captain in 2013, he moved within Navy Command HQ to the Logistics Strategy and Capability Directorate. On selection for Commodore, he assumed his current assignment as Naval Regional Commander Northern England and the Isle of Man in early 2017. He was made an aide-de-camp to Her Majesty the Queen in January this year, and he flies his broad pennant from his HQ in Liverpool, where he lives whilst conducting his regional command duties. Commodore Waterhouse is accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Rosemary Waterhouse. The Right Honourable Lord Robert Reid was born in Edinburgh and was educated at the Universities of Edinburgh and Oxford. He practised at the Scottish Bar between 1983 and 1998, becoming a QC in 1995. He also qualified as a member of the English Bar and as a bencher of the Inner Temple. He was appointed as a judge in Scotland in 1998 and in 2011 was appointed as a Justice of the UK Supreme Court. In June 2018 he became the Deputy President of the Court. As a member of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, he sits on appeals from the Isle of Man. Lord Reid is a member of the panel of ad hoc judges of the European Court of Human Rights, where he sits from time to time. He is also a non-permanent judge of the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal, where he sits for a month each year. Lord Reid is accompanied by Lady Jane Reid, who works as a volunteer at the National Maritime Museum in London. Miss Kristen Mensah has been a member of the US Diplomatic Corps since 2010. She is currently serving as a political officer at the US Embassy in London, covering a range of issues spanning from NATO to cybersecurity policy. Before coming to London, Miss Mensah served in the Bureau of European Affairs in the NATO office at the US Department of State in Washington, D.C., and at the embassies in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and Bridgetown, Barbados. Kristen is a graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C., and the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts. When she is not working, Kristen enjoys travelling, cooking and exploring new sports, so she may have found a new home from home in the Isle of Man. Rear Admiral Tim Hodgson MBE was appointed Rear Admiral in 2016 as Director Submarine Capability in the newly formed Director General Nuclear Team, where he is responsible for the delivery of the Future Submarine Programme. His career in the Royal Navy started directly from school in 1982. He later studied at the Russian Interpreters course at the Joint Services Language School, and in March 1994 He received a distinction in the Civil Service Interpreter's Language Examination, which led to an appointment as the Assistant Naval Attaché at the British Embassy, Moscow, in 1994. He returned to sea in 1997, and it was while on board HMS Trenchant in Singapore, as a result of his handling of an engineering defect whilst on board, he was appointed a member of the British Empire in a Millennium Year's New Year's Honours List, the same day as he was promoted commander. Rear Admiral Hodgson is accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Jane Hodgson, who is a barrister. Deputy Sean Crowe is a lifelong Sinn Féin and community activist from Rathfarnham in Dublin. He has served in numerous roles for the organisation since 1980 and represented Sinn Féin in the multi-party negotiations that led to the Good Friday Agreement, and has travelled internationally to promote the party's peace strategy. He was first elected as a councillor on South Dublin County Council in 1999 and has served at the Dáil Éireann for Dublin South West from 2002 to 2007 and again from 2011 until today. Mr. Crowe has also been Sinn Féin spokesperson on foreign affairs since August 2012 and is also the co-chair of the British-Irish Parliamentary Assembly. He is accompanied today by his wife, Mrs. Pamela Crowe. Sir Richard Collas is well known in legal circles in the Isle of Man, having been appointed a Deemster of the Isle of Man High Court Staff of Government Division in 2014. Sir Richard was born in Guernsey and has been an advocate of the Royal Court of Guernsey since 1983. He is the senior judge in the bailiwick and ex officio president of the island's Court of Appeal. In 2005 he became the deputy bailiff of Guernsey, and then in 2012 he was appointed as the bailiff, which means he is also the presiding officer or speaker of the Guernsey Parliament. Miss Linda Fabiani, member of the Scottish Parliament, was educated in Glasgow, and much of her career has been in the housing association sector. In the late 1980s, she went to become development manager of Bute Housing Association and then director of East Kilbride Housing Association. Ms. Fabiani was first elected to the Scottish Parliament in May 1999 for the Central Scotland region, and in 2011 was elected as constituency MSP for East Kilbride. To continue, apologies. Ms. Fabiani was first elected to the Scottish Parliament in May 1999 for the Central Scotland region, and in 2011 was elected as constituency MSP for East Kilbride. In 2007, the Italian government awarded Linda the Knight of the Order of the Star of Italian Solidarity for working to promote Scottish-Italian links. After the 2016 election, Linda was elected Deputy Presiding Officer of the Scottish Parliament. She is accompanied by her partner, Mr. Duncan MacLean. Mr. Pat the Cope Gallagher is the 20th Laois Ceann Comall of the Dáil Éireann, having been elected by secret ballot in July 2016. A native Irish speaker, he represents the newly established 5-seat constituency of Donegal, having previously served the constituency of Donegal South West on 2 separate occasions. He has also served in the European Parliament for 2 periods totalling 12 years. Mr Gallagher served as chairperson of Donegal County Council in 85-86, having been first elected to the council in 1979. He also served in various roles as a Minister of State in the Department of Affairs, Marine, Transport, Environment and Health Promotion. Mr Gallagher is accompanied by his wife, Mrs Anne Gallagher, and his private secretary, Mr Peter Malone. And the final of our special guests is the Right Honourable Lord Keane of Ely QC, who is the Advocate General for Scotland, appointed in May 2015. He studied law at the University of Edinburgh and was appointed Queen's Counsel in 1993. He has served as Chairman of the Appeal Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Scotland and is Chairman of the Police Appeals Tribunal. Lord Keane was elected as Dean of the Faculty of Advocates, the leader of the Scottish Bar, in 2007 and served as Dean until 2014. He became a member of the Bar of England and Wales in 2009 and was elected a bencher of the Honourable Society of the Middle Temple in 2011. In November 2013, he was appointed as the new chairman of the Scottish Conservative Party. Lord Keane lives in Edinburgh and is married with 2 children. He is accompanied by his private secretary, Miss Abigail Marks. After the fanfare, as you can see, there is the Sword of State, again being carried by Mrs. Bernadette Williams. This is the 20th year in succession that Mrs. Williams has carried the flag. She first took part in the Tynwald ceremony when she carried the standard in 1983 and has achieved the honour of being the national standard bearer in the United Kingdom for a period of 5 years. As you can see, the senior dignitaries fall in line behind His Excellency and the police guard. We have there the President of Tynwald in the blue and silver gown with the wig. The President of Tynwald is the Honourable Steve Roden, who was elected to the position in 2016. So this is his second appearance at the Tynwald ceremony in this role. Mr. Roden is a pharmacist by profession and was born in Glasgow. He spent 7 years in Bermuda before deciding to come to the Isle of Man in 1987 to take up a position in a Laxey pharmacy. His interest in politics began in Scotland, where he stood as a candidate for the Scottish Liberal Party in 1979, and this continued when he came to the Isle of Man and became a member of Laxey Commissioners, progressing to the position of chairman. He was first elected to the House of Keys in 1995 and has been a member of the Manx Parliament ever since, being re-elected 4 times before taking up the position of President of Tynwald. He has served in a number of ministerial positions and in various government departments until he was elected Speaker of the House of Keys following the 2016 general election. That was a position he held for 10 years until 2016, when he was chosen as the President of Tynwald. And this has involved representing the Isle of Man around the world, also in a position as joint president of the Isle of Man branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. He is married to Anna and they have 2 daughters. In his spare time he enjoys books, history and travel, and was for many years a member of the Alan Bannon Pipes and Drums, for 2 of them as Pipe Major. Behind Mr. Roden, you can see there our new Lord Bishop, Reverend Peter Eagles, and then followed there by the Judiciary, led by First Deemster David Doyle. And this is his last appearance on the Hill. He will be leaving the position at the end of July and taking up a position in private practice. Following the Judiciary, we have the members of the House of Keys and the Legislative Council. And along with Jane Poole Wilson, who was re-elected, we have 4 new MLCs, all of which are ladies. Kate Lord Brennan, Tanya August Hansen, Marlene Hendy and Kerry Sharp. In the black and gold gown is the Speaker of the House of Keys, Mr. Juan Watterson. Represents the constituency of Rushen, a chartered accountant by profession and a chartered fellow of the Chartered Management Institute. Mr. Watterson's parliamentary career began in 2006 when he was elected to the House of Keys as the member for Rushen. Having served in various roles in a number of departments at the House of Keys as the member for Rushen. Having served in 2011 until being elected as Speaker of the House of Keys in 2016. He is the current chairman of political committees and he is the joint branch president of CPA Isle of Man Branch Executive Committee and has attended plenary conferences around the world. He is the Armed Forces Champion and Honorary Colonel of the Isle of Man Army Cadet Force, as well as Isle of Man Treasurer of the Royal British Legion. Outside Tynwald, he is married with 2 children and is interested in history. And out of interest, he collects cufflinks and bad jokes. Now, in a few moments, we will have the traditional ceremony of fencing the court. This is an unusual ceremony. Mr. Gordon Leese, the current coroner from Glenfaber and Michael, will fence the court in the name of the Queen. This charges us all to behave ourselves during the ceremony. Nowadays, it's all very symbolic, but in early times, there would actually have been a physical fence around the official enclosure to protect the politicians. There is, in fact, a very interesting document on display in the government's legislature buildings in Douglas, dating back to 1417, which warns anyone who were to attempt to cross the fence that the penalties were severe, to say the least. And the document says that an offender could actually be drawn and quartered. So you have been warned. Mr. Leese will fence the court in English, and he will be followed immediately by Ian Lyder, the reader, Mr. Bob Carswell, and he will fence the court in the Manx language.
Learned First Deemster, direct the court to be fenced. Coroner of Glenfaber Sheeding and in Lyder, fence the court.
I do fence this court of Tynwald in the name of our most gracious sovereign lady the Queen. I charge that no person do quarrel, brawl, make any disturbance, and that all persons do answer their names when called. I charge this audience to witness this court is fenced. I charge this audience to witness this court is fenced. I charge this whole audience to bear witness this court is now fenced.
Tammy Corin Wheel Show for Hera, Oxenum Char and Vanny. Nach Jin Pechabi, Troja, Bagot, na Jill Borena Sabi, as the Jin the Julia Fech, Freger, Trevisse Ernain. Tammy Cora Cortus Ernain is Shaw, the Valen Whale Show for Hera. Tammy Cora Cortus Ernain is Shaw, the Valen Whale Show for Hera. Tammy Cora Cortus Ernain Nain is Shaw, the Valen Whale Show Nishjach for Hera.
Incoming coroners, take the oath in ancient form to execute your offices for the ensuing year and receive your staves of office from the hands of His Excellency.
Now this is where the coroners for the 4 sheadings of the Isle of Man receive their staves of office for the ensuing year. Mr. Gordon Leese from Glenfaber and Michael, Gareth Leese from Ayr and Garth, Kelly Sloan from Middle, and Mark Wrigley from Rushen.
By that book, and by the holy contents thereof, and by the wonderful works that God hath miraculously wrought in heaven above, and in the earth beneath, in 6 days and 7 nights, you shall, without respect of favour or friendship, love or gain, consanguinity or affinity, envy or malice, well and truly execute the office of coroner for each sheading to which you have been appointed for the ensuing year. So help you God.
As the coroners retake their seats, His Excellency will shortly ask for First Deemster David Doyle and Second Deemster Andrew Collett to read out the laws which have been enacted and received royal assent in the last year in the English language first and then the Manx.
Learned Deemsters, I exhort you to proclaim to the people in ancient form such laws as have been enacted during the past year, and which have received the royal assent.
Bills of Exchange Amendment Act 2017, which amends the Bills of Exchange Act 1883.
Slatus Bilyakan Kunri, Liasika, Feed he the Shakjeg, Taliasika Slatus Bilyakan Kunri, Hoch Kijeg, Care Feed as tree.
Equality Act 2017, which reforms and harmonizes equality law, provides for increasing equality of opportunity, and makes further provision about employment law.
Slatus Korbich, Feed he the Shakjeg, Taliasika as Currens Cadelis, Eliakan Bent and De Cormich, Takarail son Mudica Cormich the Kerken, as Takarail the Soldier, Bent and De Liakan Failye.
Insurance Amendment Act 2017, which amends the Insurance Act 2008.
Slatus Urzak, Liasika, Feed he the Shakjeg, Taliasika Slatus Urzak, Feed he as Hoch.
Fraud Act 2017, which makes provision for, and in connection with, criminal liability for fraud and dishonestly obtaining services.
Slatus Malteris, Feed he the Shakjeg, Takarail son as Bent and Dare, Fregatus Kibi son Malteris, as Gethen Shivation the Mienrik.
Income Tax Legislation Amendment Act 2017, which confirms certain temporary taxation orders and amends various enactments relating to income tax.
Slatus Liakan Kish Chitstiak, Liasika, Feed he the Shakjeg, Tashigrika Pert the Ordikan Kish Tamiltak, as Taliasika Pert the Liakan, Bent and De Kish Chitstiak.
Police Detention and Bail Act 2017, which provides for the calculation of certain periods of time for the purposes of Part 4 of the Police Powers and Procedures Act 1998.
Slatus na mur an she, friel fo glas as rain, feed he de shackjack. Takarail son co erica, liurigen enyek the hair, codelrish carailen ankier, J slatus purken as achten na mur an she, naihi jeg, kia feed as hochjeg.
Statute Law Revision Act 2017, which makes minor amendments to the Legislation Act 2015, the Interpretation Act 2015, and other enactments, and repeals spent and redundant enactments.
Slatus liasica and lai scooch, feed he de shackjeg. The jinu kachlerken beggar and slatus liaken, feed he des quegjeg. Slatus kerbun, feed he des quegjeg, as slatus and elia, as the mucha slatusen, tarochien as maru.
Casino Amendment Act 2018, which permits the revocation of casino licenses for non-compliance with legislation relating to money laundering and the financing of terrorism, permits the variation of such licenses, and confers additional discretion on the Council of Ministers in relation to deposits for casino concessions.
Slatus tyan gammon, liasica, feed he des hochjeg. To kerpur the vuka, kidden tyan gammon, threnek val bilus courage der liken, bente der nierchen erged, as ke erged der tranleers agli, to kerpur the kachler liedna kidden, as to ker tulju sesnes the rai, der kunseil nishaveshi, bente der erged tashted, son kidden tai gammon.
Gambling, Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Act 2018, which enhances regulatory oversight of the gambling sector's compliance with legislation relating to money laundering and the financing of terrorism.
Slatus Kiericus, lietel nierken erged as ke erged der tranleers agli, feed he des hochjeg. De genuine share an oseris bilus, a keru Kiericus, der liken benten der nierken erged, as ke erged der tranleers agli.
Customs and Excise Act 2018, which provides for the application in the island of legislation concerned with customs and excise, value-added tax, and import, export, and trade controls, amends the Customs and Excise Management Act 1986, permits the Treasury to disclose information in further cases, and amends the Terrorism and Other Crime Financial Restrictions Act 2014.
Slatus kishvara as kistai, feed he des hochjeg. Takarail son kerbri unson elien, der larchen benten der kishvara, as kistai, kishet tulju fuich, as ganel kuch titstiak, as golmach as dedel. Taliasica slatus vera kishvara as kistai, naihi jeg kefi de she. To kerpur den tasja, the kermach fizidi uns kushin enyek elia, as taliasica slatus tranleers agli as kimias elia, lietelsen ergedo, feed he as kiajeg.
Dogs Amendment Act 2018, which amends the Dogs Act 1990 to impose a requirement for dogs to be microchipped and to abolish dog licenses.
Slatus namordi, liasica, feed he des hochjeg. Taliasica slatus namordi, naihi jeg care feed as jai. He nu mol, the velmin slithag, sightstiach uns dach mora, as the gethen reirish kidden mordi.
Road Transport, Licensing and Registration Amendment Act 2018, which amends the Road Transport Act 2001 and the Licensing and Registration of Vehicles Act 1985.
Slatus arica erregen, kirkid as the cortus carbid liasica. Feed he des hochjeg. Taliasica slatus arica erregen, feed he des nen, as slatus Slatus Kirkied as a Curtis a Carbid, Nahi Jeg, Kier Feed as Queg.
Council of Ministers Amendment Act 2018, which amends the Council of Ministers Act 1990 to provide that the Chief Minister shall be appointed by the Governor on the nomination of and from among the members of the House of Keys, and empowers the House of Keys alone to pass a vote of no confidence in the Council of Ministers.
Slatus Kunseil na Shiveshi Liaska, Feed Heed is Hochjeg. Taliasaka Slatus Kunseil na Shiveshi, Narhi Jeg Kier Feed is Jai, the Karail the Bee and Erd Shiveshak, en a phone tail, Yorish a Kunyurt, Lurg de Ve Enmesit Glorious. As Rayich Fosh, Altanen a Keres Feed, as to Kurden Keres Feed na Lermican, who are the votals on Triltus the Vihrecht, Uds Kunseil na Shiveshi.
Safeguarding Act 2018, which establishes a safeguarding board to support the safeguarding of children and vulnerable adults, and promotes such safeguarding.
Slatus Cordy, Feed Heed is Hochjeg. To Kura Bun Board Cordy, a Kuna Lesh Corda Perchin, a Slyesich Tunscout Rochimid, as to Curliid, a Corda Era Hoshak.
Has Your Excellency any further commands?
If any person wishes to present a petition, let him now come forward.
Now, this is the point in the ceremony where members of the public are given the annual opportunity to offer petitions for redress of grievance. Until 1963, this had orally been exercised only twice in the 20th century, in 1916 and 1968. The opportunity was again exercised in 1978, since when petitions have been handed in annually. Petitions are intended to be an appeal of last resort, giving access to the highest court in the land when all other possible remedies have failed. Strict rules regarding the wording of petitions do oblige, and they Tynwald to the Lieutenant Governor, and he will then make an announcement as to what action will be taken. And following that, we will have a fanfare.
I shall refer these petitions to the Standing Orders Committee of Tynwald, who will...
Mrs. Hendy, Mrs. Sharp. Mrs. Lord Brennan, Flynn of the House of Keys. Mr. Boot. Mr. Callister. The Clerk of the Legislative Council. One Garden Cody. The Tynwald Seneschal. The President of Tynwald. Fanfare Team. 2 Sergeants of the Isle of Man Constabulary. The Sword of State. His Excellency, the Lieutenant Governor. The Private Secretary to the Lieutenant Governor. The Surgeon to the Household.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Charles Gard, and I'll be taking over the commentary for the final few minutes of today's ceremony, as Bill Dale has now left the commentary box to join the procession back into the church, where he will shortly be awarded the Tynwald Honour by Mr. President. More of that in a moment. For now, though, we're going to hear some more splendid music from the band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines Portsmouth, under the baton of Captain Andy Gregory, and they're going to start with the Tynwald March. for the obvious reason that if any one of us was prosecuted for breaking that law, then we could defend ourselves by claiming that no one knew when the law had come into force. So the appointed day order for each of these new acts will be clearly stated. And yes, a well-deserved round of applause there for the band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines, Portsmouth. There's nothing quite so inspiring as a military band. And then helped start the Manx Independent in 1987, which is still running today, 31 years later. Since those days, Bill has been running a PR and photography business and also is responsible for putting together and publishing the Southern and the North-Western Chronicles. But of course, he's best known on the island, and in fact now around the world, for starting and running Beach Buddies, which he now does with over 10,000 volunteers. In 2016, he was awarded a BEM, and when the Isle of Man was awarded the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve status, the only entire nation to achieve this status in the world, Bill and his Beach Buddies were highlighted for the exemplary work that they do. So in line with on Tynwald Day, Mr. Speaker and Mr. President.
You stand today in the Royal Chapel of St. John. This is by no means the first time you have been in this place. You were born in St. John's. You were brought up and spent the first 18 years of your life in St. John's. When you were 9 or 10, you joined the St. John's Church Choir, and you were a choir boy here for 7 years, singing on Tynwald Day, year after year. And if I'm not mistaken, there are Crellin playing again today, as he has done since he started doing this in 1960. Over the years, you have certainly maintained your links with St. John's. Now living in Andreas, where you are currently a recently appointed school governor, your career since leaving St. John's as an 18-year-old, first to go to sea, has been a long and varied one. Worked full-time in newspaper, launch in the Isle of Man. In recent years, you have worked as a freelance photographer and also in public relations, assisting such charities as Isle of Man Hospice. And for 12 years, of course, you were the supporter of the late Ian Cannell, MBE, as Tynwald Day commentator. And you're back today again in St. John's in your second year in your official capacity as Tynwald Day commentator. So it is fitting indeed that you are in St. John's Chapel, having stepped down temporarily from the commentary box outside and in the company of a very proud daughter, Roseanne, and with your 8-year-old granddaughter, Yasmin. And on a day when also there are many of your old school friends who have come across specially to be with you on this particular Tynwald Day. Bill Dale, little did you know what you were starting on that December day in 2007 when you were out walking your dog on Balaf Beach. You got fed up with seeing the litter and started picking it up and putting it in a bag. This was the start of Beach Buddies. You ran Beach Buddies with a handful of friends, more or less on your own, as a labour of love for 5 years. Then in 2013 you started asking for volunteers, and you certainly must have struck a chord with the Manx public, also anxious to see our beaches and foreshores free of litter and the debris washed ashore, because Beach Buddies has grown from a handful to 1,300 in 2013, and today not far short of 10,000 volunteers, with 60 or 70 turning out on any given Sunday. 200 beach cleaning events each year, clearing 200 tons of rubbish from the island's beaches annually. With the rise of greater environmental awareness and a real wake-up call on the dangers of plastics in the world's oceans, the work of Beach Buddies has perhaps never seemed more relevant or so important. With incorporated charitable status having been achieved in 2014, with the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture becoming your first partner in 2016, you have since managed to attract considerable outside financial support and sponsorship. You have captured the public imagination in a way that is perhaps very rare these days, because Beach Buddies activity has grown and in fact is now extending to working on footpaths, glens, greenways, parks and even public streets. Beach Buddies is a true community organisation supported across the island by the public, by government, by schools and businesses. Its achievements have been recognised by a number of prestigious local awards, and in 2016 the Isle of Man was given the great honour of UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, the only nation in the world to achieve this distinction. Your award of the British Empire Medal for services to the Manx marine environment followed in 2017, as did patronage by His Excellency of Beach Buddies. Not just UNESCO, but you have received wide international recognition for these activities from the likes of the World Wildlife Fund and from Greenpeace. You have been invited to speak in the United States, New Zealand, Cyprus, Hawaii, and I was going to say even further afield, but you can hardly be more further afield than that. But you have truly put the Isle of Man on the world map and on the national and international stage, to the extent that the international media themselves now consider Beach Buddies the preeminent expert organisation on the subject of environmental beach protection, and this also has brought worldwide recognition to this nation. The Isle of Man now has the cleanest beaches in Europe, and it is thanks to this man. Bill Dale, the Tynwald honour is the highest honour the Isle of Man can bestow. It is awarded only to those who have made an outstanding contribution over many years to one or more areas of Manx life. And there's certainly no expectation that it will necessarily be awarded every year. But this year, 2018, it was the clear, evident and unequivocal wish of Tynwald, without reservation, that the award should recognise one who has given and continues to give outstanding, true public service to the Isle of Man. Bill Dale, it is my great privilege to award you the Tynwald honour. With my warmest congratulations.
And so the name of William Charles Dale, or Bill as we all know him, is added to the Tynwald honour. Be 17th of July, that is the final sitting of Tynwald in Douglas for this political season, and no doubt there'll be a lot of questions down this year. But of course it's by no means the end of activities here at St John's. I should just take this opportunity to mention that the fair behind the stand here is in House of Keys are also at their next formal sitting. The ayes have it. The House will now stand adjourned until 10:30 a.m. in the court in Douglas on the 17th of July next year. Mr. Speaker. So that really concludes the business, and I'd just like to mention that our thanks are due to everyone involved in the organisation of Tynwald Day. An enormous amount of work goes on in the background to make sure things run smoothly, and they've once again been very efficient and professional. Thanks are also due to every person involved in the ceremony itself, especially those who've been standing for such a long time lining the pathway to Tynwald Hill. They've all once again done a magnificent job. So the official part of the day is now concluding, and on behalf of myself, Charles Gard, and Bill Dale, I'd like to thank all of you who've travelled to St John's today to see this unique piece of Manx tradition. Enjoy the remainder of this very special day. Guramayad as fast the mai.